Taking your phone calls live on the air. We always like to start out with announcements of Atheist Community of Austin. Meets every Sunday. Once we're done here, we head down to the Hot Jumble Bakery, which is like West 5th and Lavaca. No, I know the one-way streets are confusing down there, so it's worth the trip, though. We've got a lot of nice atheists there, and we always like meeting new atheists. The next big thing coming up is our Rapture Party, the 18th, December 18th. And we haven't set the date for the Life of Brian party, though, have we?
We need to do that. We need to have a Life of Brian party.
But let me introduce the other gentleman here, Jeff D., my co-host. For your regular viewers, I'll recognize the guy in the suspenders. And this week's guest, Don Rhoades, who is our Secretary of Atheist Community Austin. And that gives me a reminder that today is our board meeting, right?
That's correct.
So
board members show up today.
We'd like to remind all the board members of the group to please come down. And it's our monthly board meeting.
Well, isn't it Sir Jeff now that you've been knighted?
Yeah, I don't use the honorific.
Oh, okay. All right.
I forgot about that. Thank you. Yes.
You'd be surprised how little extra respect I get me in this group.
I think it's cool. I think it's neat.
So I mentioned the bagel shop, and that's right after we leave here with 10:30. The show's 90 minutes live for any of the new viewers. We always like to, at this point, go on over to Jeff with any of the news that's been going on this week. And you also went and saw the movie DOGMA. So
yeah, I want to do movie reviews.
Yes, so we have
DOGMA and the Pokemon movie.
Yes.
If we want to do that a little later on. What?
I'm just surprised, Jeff. I didn't think you were a Pokemon guy.
I'm not.
Okay.
Amanda is. It was that. I'll review it when I get to that.
Okay.
Bible Belt has nation's worst divorce rate. In a back room of the First Church of the Nazarene, 8 couples, young and engaged, rise beside their metal chairs, lift their right hands, and repeat their weekly pledge, "I will never get divorced." The tone is stout, almost soldierly, aptly so because their marriage preparation class in northwest Oklahoma City takes place along the front lines of the battle against pervasive divorce. Aside from the quickie divorce mecca of Nevada, no region in the United States has a higher divorce rate than the Bible Belt. Tennessee, Arkansas, Alabama, and Oklahoma round out the top 5 in frequency of divorce. In a country where nearly half of all marriages break up, the divorce rates in these conservative states are roughly 50% above the national average. And there's a long story here.
Well, the interesting point, I think, not only conservative, but there's less Catholics there. Aren't the Catholics real big against divorce? So what?
I don't know how many Catholics are.
See, so I'm
mostly Baptists.
Yeah, so I'm thinking the states that have the higher Catholic rate,
maybe they have the lower divorces.
Who would have the lower divorces rate?
I would be surprised if that was true.
Okay, that's my own personal opinion on that one. I'm just wondering if there was more, depending on how it's the statistics, on how you look at the numbers, it could actually mean different things.
But that is surprising. I mean, you wouldn't, I would have sort of thought it would be the Northeast or California would be the high.
You would think. You'd think the more liberal states where divorce is not looked on as some kind of horrifyingly evil thing. But, yeah, whether it's actually Christianity that makes these people incapable of dealing with the responsibilities of marriage, or whether it's that other things in the culture in that part of the country that make it so difficult, make it so likely for people who are not well matched to get married, or make it so difficult for them to stay together for whatever the reason, clearly Christianity is not solving the problem. And what amuses me about this story is that the response is to get these people to take a pledge that they won't get divorced. Well, isn't that what marriage is supposed to be, theoretically?
There's a comment from the floor from personal experience, because I graduated from high school just a couple of years ago. I see a lot of really young people getting married because their fundamentalist parents push them to it. And I think that's a big problem for them. They're really pressured to.
Yeah.
So, I'd like to hear how the religious group would actually defend those statistics. Not defend would be a good word, but explain it to how the Bible Belt is so high on divorce rate, and see what their response is. Or is it in there?
Let me read something else here.
Sure.
Fundamentalist churchgoers are often exposed to fairy tale conceptions of marriage, says Reverend Robert Myers, a congressional minister in Oklahoma City. He describes himself as one of the few liberal clergymen in the nation's most conservative state. They have that whole dogma of this is right, this is wrong, and nothing in between. They don't have the mental dexterity to make the adjustments to a less than perfect marriage, he says. And that's a minister from a liberal minister from that part of the country.
I'm going to use that phrase again. Mental dexterity.
Mental dexterity.
I like that.
How to think. This is interesting. I'm going to report more on this later, try to get videotapes and stuff. But I just found out, somebody posted this to our mailing list. There is another live atheist call-in show in the United States. It's in Hawaii, of all places, and it's called Bible Phonies. And there's this one guy, Forrest Bradford, who's an atheist who single-handedly runs this show. He has a volunteer crew behind the camera, but it's him up there taking calls and talking to fundamentalists and other atheists in Hawaii, trying to combat the religious right. And he not only takes live calls, he'll go out and interview fundamentalist ministers to try to get them to say crazy things on camera. So that's pretty impressive. And I'm gonna there's a half-hour compilation video file of some of the bits from his show on the web that I've seen, and I'm gonna email the guy and see if we can get a snippet to play on our show to see that.
Yeah, I'd like to hear more about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're no longer the only one. He thinks he's the only one. At least that's what it says on his webpage. So we need to hook up.
Yes.
Well, we still will maintain that we have the best until we're shown otherwise.
Okay.
Well, we could say the only one on the continental United States.
I think there's things our two shows could learn from each other. Let me put it that way.
Yes. Yes. We could definitely trade ideas. Hopefully.
Now,
yes.
I should caution that this next news story comes from an opinion column on CBN by former Watergate conspirator turned fundamentalist preacher Charles Colson. So it might be a lie drummed up to turn public opinion against Bill Bradley. But according to that column, in his 1996 memoirs, Democratic presidential candidate Bill Bradley writes that he was put off by the exclusive truth claims of fundamentalist Christianity, and that he was also bothered by the uncharitable minds and racism displayed by some Christians. Bradley says that he now disavows his Christian beliefs and, according to Investors Business Daily, says he now embraces all religions from Buddhism to Islam so long as they seek inner peace. So that's interesting. I've been desperately trying to find a candidate I could get behind, and if that's the closest they're going to come to supporting atheism, then I'll have to look into that. But it could just be this Colson guy flapping his gums trying to whip up a religious frenzy.
Well, unfortunately,
coming up on the polls.
The Libertarians have yet to announce their presidential candidates. So I don't have the name for you to get, but I can guarantee you that's who I'll be voting for. So I will keep you up to date on the Libertarian. See, the Reform Party will not be on the ballot in all 50 states this year. The Libertarian Party has been on the ballot in all 50 states for over 30 years. So
I'm not voting for
I'm just letting those people know that there is an alternative besides the Reform Party.
Yeah, okay.
And, okay, go ahead.
I got the new issue of Reports of the National Center for Science Education. Now we can just zoom in on that. But there's an article in here on new tactics for getting creation science into classrooms. Two of the more recent strategies are to argue that individual teachers have a constitutional right to present creationist material, and that evidence against evolution should be taught in the science classroom as a way of improving teaching and learning. The former insists that either that free speech or the exercise of religion is unconstitutionally abridged when teachers are not permitted to teach creation in the science class. The second usually resorts to a litany of so-called problems and anomalies in the scientific evidence, which proponents claim casts doubt on evolutionary explanations and models. And it goes into detail here. If people want to ask about that, I can tell you what's going on. But I remember specifically a story about a fundamentalist teacher who volunteered at his school to teach the science class so he could be in charge of teaching the evolution part of the curriculum so that he could inject his own slant on it.
Interesting.
That's what they're trying now. So, like somebody said, whether animals evolve or not, Christianity and creationism certainly does, because every time they encounter an obstacle, they just mutate themselves.
But I like that we're finding out there's a backlash going on in Kansas against the board members and everything else. So we will keep you up to date on that. And remind your representatives that you do vote. And the whole idea of creation is not a theory. It should never be taught in schools.
Right. It's not science. Okay. I think I've shown this issue of Skeptic before, but Manda brought up some things in here. Are we going to do a close-up? We can.
Can't right now.
Can't right now. But in the back of Skeptic magazine, they have an additional segment called Junior Skeptic. And this was actually inspired by a joke in The Simpsons, where Lisa Simpson is going around with Junior Skeptic magazine. And the guys at Skeptic magazine thought that was such a good idea. They now have a section in the back where it's science and rational skepticism for kids.
Fantastic.
So there's a whole thing in this about urban legends, talking about how about where they come from, how they change over time, and one of the interesting things is they use as an example the urban legend of the Mexican pet, which has a couple finding a dog in a foreign country and bringing it home and then finding out it's a big rat.
Right.
Right. And what they point out is that in different parts of the world, because you can find variations on this story all over, the ethnicity of the big rat changes to match whoever is considered an underclass foreigner in that country. So it's Mexicans here, because in this part of the world, where we look at
but over in Europe,
about them. In California, it was Taiwanese when they had a wave of Taiwanese immigrants.
Oh, okay.
So they're explaining it. One of the things about urban legends that makes them so popular is that they tie into popular biases. So now this says nothing about Christianity. This is all about myths that little stories that get spread around that really aren't true. And people tell them as if it happened to a friend of a friend, but really, it's several hundred generations removed from whoever originally told it and whatever the real truth was. But Manda was reading this to me and pointed something out interesting. Remember the Jesus myth, okay? Keep the Jesus myth in mind while I read you these 7 tips on how to spot an urban legend.
Okay.
1. It happened to a friend of a friend, not to the teller. This is such a common claim that people who study these stories have shortened this phrase to FOAF, as in, it happened to a FOAF, friend of a friend. And the first written versions of Jesus' story are too late to have been written by eyewitnesses. 2. It usually contains a warning or makes a point about another group of people. Well, that's true in the Jesus myth, right? 3, there are many variations on the story. Often these variations go back many years, but everyone claims it happened recently. Well, that's not true of Jesus. The story is told in many locations, sometimes worldwide, but everybody claims it happened nearby. But that's not accurate. But there are many variations of it, right? Like 4 of them right in the Bible.
Well, and also there's many the flood story and all that, and the virgin birth, or all that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, elements of it.
If you take the
worldwide.
Bible, not just the Jesus myth,
that's
but the Bible.
True. I hadn't even looked at it that way.
Yes.
So that may fit better than I thought. 4, it's just too weird. The story is too good to be true. 5, topics of these stories are the same as those on the evening news or in gossip columns. Topics include death, sex, horror, crime, contamination, beating the system, new technology, ethnic stereotypes, and celebrity rumors. Well, quite a number of those apply to the Jesus myth. 6, urban legends are told by groups of people to make a point about another group. They reflect the fears and concerns of the group that reflects the fears and concerns of the group that tells them. Farmers and city dwellers tell urban legends about each other, as do doctors and patients. Whites and blacks, Catholics and Protestants, men and women, kids and adults, motorcyclists and non-cyclists. Every group has its own collection of urban legends. And 7, it came from an unspecified source. This includes the radio, or in the paper, and especially the internet, or in the case of the Jesus myth, the Bible. Real incidents have real names, dates, and places that can be verified.
That's good.
That's very interesting. That not even intentionally talking about religion, but just talking about the aspects of the phenomenon, the well understood phenomenon of urban legends. It casts great doubts on the story of Jesus.
Excellent.
And they never die. They
never die. You just keep telling them.
And fine tuning them, yes, and to fit the newer. So I just wanted to introduce Don Rhoades, and we're waiting for the cameras to get back in order here. Vic's, our producer, back behind the camera. Vic's doing a lot of things behind the camera today. Appreciate all the work you're doing back there. Remind everyone, this is Don Rhoades, who's our Secretary of Atheist Community of Austin. And did you have anything in specific you wanted? You was talking about.
Well, I had a couple of things. One is those of y'all that have been longtime viewers of the show remember our original co-host Joe Zamecki, who was relocated to New Jersey when his job with American Atheists moved up there. He will be our guest next week.
He will be our co-host.
Our co-host. Yes. Okay. I'm going to move behind the camera.
All righty.
But thanks for reminding me. I meant to tell him that.
So this is a real good opportunity for those that saw Joe for the as we began our show, and he used to have lots of interesting things to say on the show. So you can call in and say hi to him, and just make sure you tune in. It's going to be a good show. I think everybody's going to enjoy it. And we're going to try to get together with him sometime while he's here, besides just our regular bagel shop meeting, to socialize and say hi to him and ask him lots of questions about how things are going. It'll be a lot of fun. It's a fun time to be an atheist. Last weekend, a number of us from Austin were in San Antonio for the annual convention of the 22nd annual convention of the Freedom From Religion Foundation. Freedom From Religion Foundation is a national nonprofit organization which works towards maintaining the separation of church and state. They enter in a lot of court cases, and they are also just a wonderful group of people. And you don't have to be an atheist to be a member, but it's run by atheists. And I think in the most recent survey, 80% of the membership call themselves atheists, and about 10% agnostics, and the rest other. Anyway, on Friday night was fantastic. I have to refer to my program here to help my memory. But Friday night we had Steve Benson, who's an editorial cartoonist, one of the best editorial cartoonists in the country. Now his cartoons don't show up in the Austin paper, but he's done a lot of them, and he is hilarious. He was very funny, and part of his history is that he was brought up in what was like the Mormon family. His grandfather was Ezra Benson, who was like the equivalent to the Pope in Mormonism at some time. And so as he began his life as a dedicated Mormon, and now is converted to the other side, and he had just wonderful stories about secret underwear and these bizarre wedding rituals, and he was showing us cartoons that he'd drawn the whole time. So I mean, it was a hoot. He had one that was from when he was like 8 years old.
That'd be wild, yeah.
And as he was going through different things, he was a big defender of J. Edgar Hoover, at one time, because apparently this was, something his family, kind of strongly believed in.
J. Edgar Hoover wore secret underwear too, didn't he?
Well, he didn't go into that, but anyway, it was a lot of fun. It was really a lot of fun listening to this guy. I'd love to hear him talk again. After that, the 1999 Free Thought Heroine Award was presented to Barbara Ehrenreich. And she is she's written for a number of magazines. She has written she's written a novel. She worked for the I forget the name of it, the somebody's list, the women's political organization, and she is a fourth generation atheist. So she's her family is very supportive of atheism, and she was telling these old stories of her family back in pioneer days, and how they became atheists and how they acted as atheists. And the one that really kind of struck home was I think it was her grandfather was a copper miner out west, and copper mining is very, very rough work, and he was anxious to get out of it, and he had saved wages and was planning on buying a farm and going to do some farming. And the family story goes that he loaded up his wagon and headed out of town, and he met an Indian woman with some kids, and they were obviously very, very poor and in need, and he ended up giving them the money he'd saved and turning back around and going back to copper mining. And her point with this was that that if there's no God, then any moral action that takes place has to be done by us. And I thought that was a really good point. She brought it home really well. Very, very, very good. On Saturday morning, we got to hear from Micah White, who has his own high school free thought club, and he told us all the things that he had to go through to create this. It was it's really funny how people will justify plain unfairness in order to keep an atheist club out of a high school. You can have a Bible club and that's okay, but not an atheist club. Well, he has his club. He had to get a lawyer and everything to do that. Had to go to court, but very, very neat guy. Then we heard from Dr. Richard Sloan, who has examined a lot of the medical studies that purport to show a relationship between prayer and healing. And he pretty much shot that full of holes, just based on the way the studies are done. There are a whole lot of studies out there, and if you pick and choose from them, sometimes they'll show something, sometimes they don't, and it's really a lot more on a random.
Well, yeah, if the people would just stop and think, a true scientific study would be a double-blind study. How can you do a double-blind study?
He pointed that out. It just, it doesn't work. The evidence is very weak, and he and some other people published a kind of an expose, I guess you'd call it, of this kind of thing in a English medical journal. Then the first annual Emperor Has No Clothes Awards, which by the way it's a statue of the naked emperor, was presented to Professor Stephen Weinberg. A lot of our local folks here know who he is and heard him talk here at Furr's Cafeteria, and he was splendid. He was a big hit, and he talked about a lot of the same things there that he did in Austin. But I now have a signed copy of one of his books, which I get a thrill over that. I enjoy it. After that, we had John McCormick, who is an investigative reporter for the San Antonio paper, who told us about the disappearance of the O'Hare family and how this story came together. And it was, frankly, riveting, I thought. I mean, it was very good. What basically happened is that the newspaper kept the investigation alive. It was John and a private investigator that that kept things moving when the police had, especially the Austin police, just really didn't pursue what was going on. That was very entertaining. Sammy Smoot, executive director of the Texas Freedom Network, talked about school vouchers in Texas. I guess not all atheists are against vouchers, but I think probably the majority are. And she pointed out that the Texas school board is 2 votes away from being Kansas. From
I didn't realize that. No.
Yeah. That's what she said, and she had lots of insights into the political fights over vouchers and the immense amount of private money that's gone into supporting the voucher efforts. Dan Barker did a free thought concert for us, and then the Saturday finished up with an evening with Charles Darwin. Lots of poetry and lively thoughts about Charles Darwin. And overall, it was a wonderful experience. It's great to just get together and socialize with these people, and it was a good time. Good time had by all.
Fantastic. And it sounded like it. Sorry I missed it, and I couldn't make it down. But I'm glad to see we had. So how many from our group showed up?
I don't really know. Susan Brown and her husband were there. Let's see. There was a couple that I've seen here that I don't recall their names, but they were at one of the lectures. Jeff.
Oh, Jeff was there. Fantastic. Glad to see we had a good representation.
We had talked about this a little last week.
Yeah. But I forgot you did mention that last week. Yeah. Okay. But I appreciate your report, and I'd like to hear people that were there, and I'm glad to hear that Atheist Community of Austin had a presence there. And so, it was a national convention, right?
At national convention. Right. And Catherine Farringer, who some of us know, an activist in San Antonio, kind of put a lot of this together. And one thing she did that was, I just really enjoyed this, was going to the convention, going down Broadway in San Antonio. There's this huge banner from side to side on the street. Welcome, Freedom from Religion Foundation, 22nd Convention. It's very good, very good. I like that a lot.
Okay. Well, just to remind everyone, we're coming at you live November 14th. That is our telephone number. We'll take your questions, comments, whatever you'd like to have here. But before we go to your movie review, I want to do something on this here, and I really don't want to show their name. This is because you see them out there all the time.
Go ahead and show their name.
I don't want to give them any free publicity. Yeah. But basically, what the deal is, you see these religious group people standing on the corner collecting money, and it turns out what the deal is, it's perfectly legal in the city of Austin for them to panhandle for money, because that's basically what they're doing. They're just bumming money from you, standing on the corner with no solicitor's license, no reporting whatsoever, and stand there and because they're from a church. But these people were from McAllen, Texas, which I understand is quite a ways away from here.
Yes.
I should have checked that mileage before I came in. I don't know the exact mileage, but they're from McAllen, Texas, coming down here, bumming money to send to Mexico. And then they got this little, and so I asked for a brochure, and they gave me the little brochure. I don't know if you want, but they show pictures of them going down to Mexico, and this is the same guy in both pictures, there and there. It's the same guy. So this is copyrighted. And my point I'm leading up to, this copyrighted, original copyright's 87. So this could be one trip that they made back in 1987 that they're still promoting, and they might not have never been back down there. We never know. They're standing there asking for your money, but if you ask them for anything whatsoever to find out where they're from, they get all offensive. The woman was totally amazed that I asked for any pointed questions about the group, where the money's going to, or anything like that. So, but these are the same people that want federal money to come in and take over what they call faith-based social services, and they are not going to want any report. They're going to want to decide on how that money's spent, who gets that money, where that money's going to, and what's being said in any publications or education or whatever else that's going on there. My whole point I'm leading up to is we need to enforce the laws that we have, and I think that should be changed to where you have to be an Austin church at least. I hate the idea that strangers can come in and be perfectly legal for them to come into this town and do that. The law does not specify Austin church. Mm-hmm. And I would like to see it say Austin nonprofit organization. So technically we could go out there and bump money, but I don't see our group
That's ever, not what we're after.
I don't see our group ever standing on corner. And by the way, we're not asking for money because you cannot ask for money on Access TV. So I'm not asking for money for a group. I'm just saying the law should not read just church, in my opinion, is what I'm saying.
Lord, and just make me lie down in the green.
Okay.
Right, because you have no idea where this money's going. I mean, they make claims, but nobody checks into it.
But on the back is just a bunch of religious, and they're giving Bible verses and how the Holy Spirit will rain down on you.
If you're a nonprofit organization, you've got to file paperwork and you've got to account for where all your funds go, right?
Exactly.
And churches don't.
Exactly. And this is coming from a service in Switzerland, is the one. So,
where they have the Swiss bank accounts.
So
I don't know that there's a connection, but it is the same.
Why get so spiritual if there's no market for it?
Thank you, Arlo. I appreciate that so much. Okay, let's try the phones. Make sure the phones are working all right before we go to your review. You know,
Buster.
Okay, Buster.
Hey.
Good morning.
Buster. How's it going?
Fantastic.
I haven't seen the show in a while because I would think one of the best things about being an atheist is not getting up on a Sunday morning. But,
okay.
Yeah.
I just wondered, did you see this thing in the Weekly World News on Madeline a few weeks ago?
Weekly World News? No.
I don't usually
But
read that.
she was taken by space aliens, right?
Oh, no, it was her worst nightmare. Come true. Here it is.
Okay.
They had one of their psychics was contacted her. She was, oh, get this, get ready. She contacted them from heaven saying, "Oh, I was so wrong."
Oh, no, I missed it. What's the week? What date is that on that?
I don't know. I just saw it a few weeks ago. They come and go. You know?
Yeah. What? I never buy them. I see them there. Some of the titles, and it's funny some of the headlines that they have on there. I wish I'd have seen that one. We would definitely use that on the show.
Yeah, I knew you'd want to hear about it.
Well, the original,
Thank you.
the book wasn't the gentleman's name.
I forget his name.
We
I know
reviewed the book
you're
on here, and he went through 24 psychics, and none of them was able to make contact. But the Weekly World News found a psychic, and I always thought that would be so.
And he only wanted psychics to find the bodies.
Right. That Madeline would get such a great kick out of the fact that they were using psychics trying to find her. She would be laughing quite a bit if she knew that.
Yeah, she's so dead.
I appreciate that input.
Good to hear from you.
You have a great week.
Sure.
All right, let's go on down. Oh, Joe.
Hey.
Joe?
Yes.
Hey,
Hi,
fantastic.
How you doing?
Good.
We're just telling everyone that you're going to be on the show next week.
Right. That's still a go, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we're looking forward to it.
I can't wait to go down there and visit everybody again.
And we're trying to set up something for Saturday night, man, so we can all get together and go out have a drink or something Saturday night.
Well, that's definitely what I want to do. At least go to 6th Street right off the bat.
Oh, right off the bat?
They have nothing like that over here.
Okay.
Well, it's New Jersey. Okay.
Well, you'll be disappointed. 6th Street's changed quite a bit. Steamboat's left.
What? It's Steamboat?
Yes.
They closed?
Yeah, so all they have is cover bands and DJs down there nowadays. So, well, that's not true. I guess the Black Cat and Joe Generic are still doing original music, but the majority of them are cover bands and daiquiri bars, and it's all going corporate.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Well, I'm sure the people of Austin, though, will work together to try to keep it something great.
Oh, but what? And they're enforcing the noise ordinance to an extreme. They arrested McCanahan. Damn, I forgot his first name. McGanahan. Anyway, he's playing his bongos too loud. Did that reach the paper up there? Kevin. Is that Matthew McConaughey. That's his name. I was trying to. McConaughey.
Oh, Matthew McConaughey, yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry. I got all spaced out. Yeah, for playing his bongos too loud. He got fined $50 for playing his bongos too loud in his house, in his own home. So I give you some idea how Austin has changed since you left. But go ahead. Sorry.
Wow. Well, I'm going to try to have fun there anyway. Well, I think we'll definitely have a good time. And on Sunday, I wanted to come to the meeting after the show, too, and say hi to
Yes, yeah, and we're all looking forward to seeing you again, yes.
Awesome. Well, I guess I do have just one little thing real quick.
Sure.
I was going to do a boring news story, but let's find something interesting. I had a joke here. Where'd it go?
Yes.
Online right now.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, where'd it go? All right, well, I'll just talk about this. No, here it is. Big in Texas. A Texan buys a round of drinks for all in the bar because, he announces, his wife has just produced a typical Texas baby boy weighing 20 pounds. Congratulations shower him from all around, and many exclamations of wow are heard. A woman faints due to sympathy pain. 2 weeks later, he returns to the bar. The bartender says, "Say, you're the father of the typical Texas baby that weighed 20 pounds at birth. How much did you weigh now?" And the proud father answers, 10 pounds. And the bartender is puzzled and concerned, and he says, "Why? What happened? He already weighed 20 pounds at birth." The Texas father takes a slow swig from his long neck Lone Star, wipes his lips on his shirt sleeve, leans into the bartender, and proudly says, "Had him circumcised."
I saw that coming.
Sorry if that's a little old.
Yeah, that's good, though.
Anyway, okay, well, I'll save up my news stories for next week and come on down and talk about them.
Cool.
All right.
Fantastic.
Thanks. I guess I can listen for a while. You can put me on hold.
Sure, I'm glad to.
Okay, thanks.
All right, see you next week.
Bye, Joe.
Bye, Joe.
Okay. I thought I put him on hold. Let me try again. There you go. Yeah, now he's on hold. So, I guess remind everyone that we are coming to you live November 14th. We'll take your comments or questions that you have there. But meanwhile, let's...
Movie reviews.
Your movie review of Dogma.
Noel, I've seen a couple of films this weekend, and I want to start with the Pokemon film.
Oh,
now,
okay.
as we all know, the fundamentalists are screaming and yelling that Pokemons are satanic. Well, that's utter nonsense. And I went to the film, and no, I'm not a giant Pokemon head, but it's animation, and my wife's really into it, and we have a friend that's really into it, so we went, and it's an okay movie. It's actually, you'll be surprised, there's this really long, opening cartoon that's like they'd have a Bugs Bunny cartoon before a regular film in the old days. There's this really long opening cartoon, and then a really short movie.
Oh, really?
So it's like, it's not quite 50-50, but it's like, 25% of the time you're there is this opening thing, that was a waste of time. But the regular movie, what struck me about it is I'm watching this, I'm going, oh, okay, Pokemons, you collect the little creatures and they do their fights for you, and it's all a big prestige thing, who can beat up who else's Pokemon's the best. And the storyline is, to those of you who are afraid that I'm going to spill the ending, you should stop listening now for a few minutes. But the storyline is about they clone a Pokemon and do genetic engineering on it to make the most powerful Pokemon in the universe. And this Pokemon goes, "Oh, so I've just been created to be a slave to these scientists. Well, I don't like this." And he blows up the laboratory and he flies away. And he meets this other guy that enslaves him to use his great power for him. And he beats that guy up and leaves. And he finally says, I'm so angry because I've just been created to be a slave. I'm going to conquer the world. So he goes to conquer the world. And he does that by inviting all the Pokemon masters to his secret island to have a big fight. Well, to have his big fight, he clones all the Pokemons of the kids that come to the island with their Pokemon. So he has as many as them. And the kid, I get this feeling of nausea when the kids go, "Oh, but even though your Pokemons have been genetically engineered and have better powers than ours, our Pokemon win because of their heart." Right? It's like the old, you just got to have faith message, and it doesn't matter what your real abilities are. So the genetically engineered evil Pokemon goes, "Well, I'm going to neutralize all their special powers, and they'll just have to duke it out." And interestingly, the nice Pokemon with all their heart, born the regular way, don't win. They fight to a standstill. So in fact, they debunk that idea that, if you're just really committed and just really believe, then you'll win. No, if you're equally matched, then you're equally matched, and that's what it is. And then finally, one of the kids throws himself into the fight and gets hurt, and the Pokemon come to his rescue, and the original genetically engineered cloned Pokemon goes, "Oh, so these slave creatures are all helping their master. So there's something going on here. It's not just masters and servants like I thought, and maybe I'm wrong." and finally the message of the film is, being cloned doesn't make you evil. The meaning to your life is whatever you make it once you've got a life. And that was really good. And I was just very pleased to see that, that a Japanese animated film for kids can teach kids better lessons, more intelligent lessons about bioethics than we have in the United States, where people immediately assume, oh, clones must be, evil slave creatures that
That's great.
It would be mean to clone people. No, it's not mean. It's just a different way of becoming alive.
The other thing I've heard about Pokemon, I haven't yet to watch the show or the movie, is they don't kill each other.
No, there's no killing.
Yes, and
well, it's a little iffy in this film.
Is it?
Yeah, the original Pokemon that's cloned and genetically engineered blows up the laboratory. There's probably some dead scientists in there, but they don't dwell on it.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah, nobody dies on camera.
Okay,
and which is much the same as American Saturday morning cartoons.
Well, I hadn't thought about it, but
yeah,
but I'm not worried at all about it corrupting the kids, and I'm glad to see that.
No, in fact, it's actually acquainting them with, a more rational basis for ethics and morality, which is, you're responsible for your own actions. So that was pretty good, and that might have a lot to do with why the fundamentalists are so up in arms about it, because you don't get to decide your own course of actions, and be justified in doing that, and good can't come from that, from the fundamentalist point of view, right?
So, yeah, you want to try another caller
we
before
can
you
take
do
a call,
your,
and then I'll do Dogma later.
Yeah, I'm anxious to hear about Dogma.
Let's go to Nate.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hi,
Good
Nate.
morning.
Doing good.
I just wanted to share something with you. I thought y'all might think was funny. I got a atheist joke in the mail from a Christian friend of mine.
Okay.
An atheist was spending a quiet day fishing when suddenly his boat was attacked by the Loch Ness Monster. In one easy flip, the beast tossed him up in his boat high in the air. Then it opened its mouth to swallow both. As the man sailed head over heels, he cried out, "Oh my God, help me!" At once, the ferocious attack scene froze in place, and as the atheist hung in midair, a booming voice came down from the clouds. "I thought you didn't believe in me." "Come on, God, give me a break," the man replied. 2 minutes ago, I didn't believe in the Loch Ness Monster. Anyway, that's all. I just thought y'all might enjoy that.
I did, yes. I appreciate that. You have a great week. Thanks, Nate. That was a great joke. Yes, I like that. Okay, there's been a lot of news about Dogma, a lot more than Pokemon. The religious right is all upset, and so you had the opportunity. I haven't had the chance to go see it, so I'll let you take over from here, seeing how you did see it.
Yeah, I'm sad to report that there's nothing there for atheists. It's in a way encouraging to see the kind of audacity that it takes to have to depict some of the things that they did in the film, right? They play fast and loose with the mythology, and they introduce the 13th apostle who was black, and so he was edited out of the Bible, and God, and they have God being a woman, and all this stuff goes on. But ultimately, it's liberal Christians arguing with conservative Christians or fundamentalist Christians. It's not atheist at all. I mean, there is no hint that this is that having a God who does these, a God who imposes the rules of morality and then changes them, and you go to hell if you don't follow those rules, and all that setup. There's no hint in the entire film that that's a bad deal, and that's really unfortunate. I would have hoped that rebellion against God might be portrayed as sort of a positive thing if you've got a God who's tyrannical and insane and creepy and stuff, but no. So that's really about all I have to say about it. If you want to go and see some of the icons of Christianity played with, in amusing and irreverent ways, then go ahead. But you're not gonna find a message that says, "Gee, people ought to wake up and stop believing this nonsense."
So it's no Life of Brian, huh?
It's not a Life of even Life of Brian doesn't.
Well, you also tell me that Zelma Amick doing the strip tease is not worth it either.
No. Sorry, not any more than she. Wasn't she in Dusk Till Dawn? Wasn't that her on the table there?
I think so. Yeah, I forgot about it.
Anyway,
the George Clooney movie, right?
Yeah.
Dusk Till Dawn. I forget if that was the same woman.
The only nudity in the film is Chris Rock.
So, because I seen the previews, I seen the strip tease on one of the previews, and I thought, that might be interesting.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I mean,
so I guess I'll wait.
That's when you go to films, right?
I guess I'll wait till it comes out on video. That way I can fast forward to the good parts. Huh?
Yeah, it's entirely understandable that conservative Christians, and I don't mean just fundamentalists, because really the movie is aimed at Catholicism, conservative Catholicism. It's completely understandable that they'd be up in arms, but they're not up in arms because the movie makes a case that fundamentally the Christian beliefs are just false. All it does is it says, well, let's play with all these elements, but really the message underneath it all is the same. In fact, near the beginning of the film, one of the rogue angels is going around talking. He talks this nun out of her religion, just to be sort of capricious. He talks her into being an atheist. So you do hear an atheist argument presented that they don't really go very deeply into it, but
that's funny.
Yeah, I guess.
Just remind everyone, we're coming to you live November 14th. We'll be glad to take your questions or comments there. That is our telephone number. It's being brought to you by Atheist Community of Austin. We meet every Sunday at Hot Jumbo Bakery. Once we're done here, we're heading down there. So if you don't get through on the phone or you want to ask your question in person, we'll be glad to take your question there at the bagel shop. Although we're beyond the point of arguing the existence of God or whatever. We'd much rather discuss current events or anything like that. Any social events or anything else that we have going on, like our Life of Brian party that's coming up soon here.
Mm-hmm. I think I asked this before. We have the Rapture party coming up. Is there some particular reason we picked that date? Is there a Rapture predicted for the 18th? I haven't done a Rapture report in a few weeks, and I'm sorry.
From what I understand, that there were several people claiming the solstice was going to be, and that was the closest weekend to the solstice, is what they do. So it'd be a combination Rapture solstice. And we will be doing the solstice special on the TV show again, like we did last year, where we had the whole group in.
Cool, I like that.
Good idea.
So we will be doing that.
That's fun. That's always fun. That's a kick.
Yeah, let everyone see how, what a good-looking group we do have. And we have an intelligent group, and get that several opinions. So it's going down to Eric here. Eric?
Yeah, hi.
Good morning.
Hi, Eric.
How you guys doing?
Good.
Doing good.
Hey, I'd like to hear your thoughts on talking about let's see if I can phrase this right, the essence or the source of just all the reactionism, but things like Pokemon and say Harry Potter, being afraid of that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's something going on where people are, their beliefs are threatened, right? They're insecure about their threat.
So,
and I mean, not everybody reacts that way to when their beliefs are challenged, right?
Yeah.
Right.
There is some subset of the population that feels that way.
Yeah.
I'd just like to hear what you guys think about why that happens, and particularly like fundamentalists, or it seems like it must be the insecure people who are like really threatened by these things, and those are the ones who are outspoken. I don't see any other reason for people.
Well, there's such a historical precedence for it. It just kind of, I guess that would show how natural it comes. But from the very
that would show how what?
How natural it comes to them, because right from the very beginning, the Bible's talking about, they were destroying cities and all the women, children, on the cattle and everything, and they're just because the God told them to. So the fanatical, was there from the start. And so, where it's coming from today, I wouldn't have any opinion on that. How about you, Jeff?
I don't necessarily need you to express, a set opinion. It's just interesting that it does happen,
Right.
Right? People react this way, but not everybody reacts that way.
I wouldn't necessarily immediately jump to the conclusion that fundamentalists attack various things because they're insecure. I mean, I'm willing to take their word for it if they say that, boy, we really think this Harry Potter thing that's getting kids to think about magic, right?
Okay.
And that magic might be cool. They might really believe that that's a bad thing to think, right? They say that they do. I'm willing to take their word for it.
Because
you got your TV on? We're getting feedback.
Because magic is evil.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what's that?
Do you have your TV on? We're getting feedback.
No, I think you have your speakerphone on.
Okay, just checking. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but go ahead. You were talking about the magic in Harry Potter.
Yeah, but then they have to establish the point that magic is evil before
Right.
they can say that. I mean, magic has to be inherently evil. It can't be good.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if it's neutral, then it has to be a threat to their beliefs for them to react that way.
Right.
Right? If it's
Well,
neutral,
but they believe that it's evil. I mean,
I'm sorry, what's that?
They do believe that it's evil, that any magical things that are happening that aren't
But
because
how
of
is it-
God
how is that-
are necessarily evil.
Yeah, but then it seems to me that anybody who acts that way, anything that doesn't jive with their beliefs is evil. So
Yeah.
when we come back to, wait a minute, it must be a threat. There must be neutral things out there, right?
Interesting.
You would have. It was kind of hard to picture Barney as satanic, but
Well, okay,
there
that
was a
just some big, that was some,
well. Okay, I mean, they have. It'd probably be good to ask them why these things happen. But part of let me just finish. Let me just finish.
Okay.
Part of what's going on here is because of the way they're set up, the way churches operate, the way ministries operate. They are sort of compelled to speak out about issues that they think are affecting morality or not not consistent with God's way of running the world and stuff like that. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, but don't you think that position it occurs because somewhere there is a group of people who all feel personally threatened.
Yeah, but is that really so different than?
I'm sorry.
Is that really so different? Huh? I'm sorry. I don't mean to talk over you. You go ahead.
If you get away from like the institutions,
Right.
Yeah.
Big sweeping positions on things, and you go to an individual.
Mm-hmm.
Why do they react that way? I mean, if you look at, I don't think you should gloss over that. The source of it is coming from individuals.
I don't think we're trying to gloss anything
Yeah.
over. I mean, we're
Okay. Let me say what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I'm not. I mean, I don't think that kind of reaction when it comes from religions is really any different in character than tribalism when you encounter it from any other one group that is exclusionary and paranoid about other groups, right? I mean, you get that. You get nationalism. You get one football team against another football team. I mean, that seems to be part of human nature, and it may be just that the religion is channeling it. But on to your point about individuals, a couple of weeks ago we had a woman who called in and we were talking about in Leviticus where it says kill homosexuals, right? And she's going, well, I don't think that's good, but God thinks that's good. And so we say, well, why do you worship a God who wants something that you think is not good? And she says, well, because I want his love and I don't want his wrath. So that comes down to fear.
But you brought up some very interesting points there, and I think to really get an accurate answer, you're going to have to probably call a different show than us, because since we don't.
This is all just us speculating.
But no, you definitely gave us great food for thought, but we do have other callers.
Okay, great.
We'll ask some of the Christians who call in what they think about this.
But that was a great idea. Not a great idea, but a great question. What would they consider neutral? And I really
interesting.
I'll have to do some thinking on that.
It's all very black and white.
Yeah. Let's go on to Tim.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Good morning, Tim.
It's been a long time since I called in.
Yes.
It's that Tim.
I recognize your voice.
I got a call today, so that's why I'm not at work today. Actually.
Oh, okay.
I was calling for some light material here today, then y'all get all deep and heavy on me. That's a pretty interesting conversation going there. I was calling, Jeff, I didn't really get your review on Dogma. Is it an entertaining movie, or is it something you would say don't go see? Or
it's entertaining.
It's worth going to check it out.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't stand to have the icons of your religion poked fun at, then you don't want to see it.
So,
but otherwise, go ahead.
I'm not a fundamentalist kind of. I mean, I'll listen to y'all poke fun at stuff all the time and love it. And The Life of Brian, that's one of my. I love that movie. When are y'all watching that?
I don't know. Would you like to?
We haven't set a date.
We had, but that's an annual event that we do as a group, and that would be interesting having one of our callers come in.
Why don't you consult Nostradamus and find out when it's going to be?
I know y'all get the King of Terror prophecy was wrong.
But you find it entertaining, but do you see the point? I mean,
blindly following anything for any reason is stupid.
Well, I'm glad to see you remain open-minded on that.
I think that's the main point of the movie.
Exactly.
It is.
And I mean, as y'all know, I don't blindly follow anything. I try to do it logically. And do I make mistakes and am I wrong about stuff? Oh, yeah. And you guys have helped me point out a lot of things that I've, done research on and
thank you.
Changed views. And I hope that, y'all admit when I make good points every now and then. And that's how we learn from each other is when...
That's right. When we give it thought-provoking comments.
It's really all about, I think it's really all about trying to figure out what the heck is really going on and what is the best way of figuring out what the heck is really going on.
Right. If you're not searching for the truth, you're probably stuck at some frat party and you're floating through life aimlessly anyway.
Good point.
But y'all have a great show, guys, and keep it up.
Thank you, Tim.
Let me know when we're doing that Life of Brian. I'd love to watch it with you.
We will be announcing it, I'm sure.
We'll be announcing it soon.
All right, see ya.
Thank you. Maybe that's one of the things we'll have to pin down at our board meeting today, maybe.
Sounds great to me. I'm ready for it.
All right. Let's go on to Kim, or Kimmy, excuse me.
Hello.
Hi.
What's your name?
Kind, K-I-N-D.
Kime. Okay.
I'm sorry. That looks like Kimmy to me.
That's quite all right.
I'm sure you get that often.
I have a question for all three of you.
Yeah.
I'm curious if either one of you had ever believed in God and what caused you to not.
Okay, great. That's come up before. In my own personal experience, it was through when I was a youngster, and I don't think that I really had a belief in it. I just took it as face value because all the adults and the older people in my life were all telling me that there was a God and they were taking me to church. So basically, I felt like I was brainwashed at that point. When I got to become a teenager and started questioning this stuff and started researching the history of the Bible, is when I realized, what a man-made instrument that really was, and so full of contradictions, and nobody would, in the religious community, would face up to those contradictions. They were telling me I was wrong for asking these questions. So I can't say that there was ever actually a point where I actually believed in God. I just think I was too young to question it for myself. Now I'll let Don answer his personal.
Yeah, I was raised a Christian and believed in God, or as I grew a little older, wanted to. I remember praying. I remember praying to God, if you are really there, that sort of thing. So. But I claimed to be a Christian, belonged to a church, was active in the church. And at some point, I think I was in high school, I started doubting it. And once it was okay to question, this doesn't really have the ring of truth about it. And I started reading the Bible a lot. I started investigating alternative religions and, Buddhism and all kinds of things like that, but pretty quickly it started coming home to me that none of this really made a whole lot of sense, and that the world worked just fine. In fact, made more sense without the supernatural.
And I want to get Jeff's. So you did ask all three of us.
Yeah. Whoa. Yeah. I guess I must have. I mean, in the same way that a little kid believes in their imaginary friend. It wasn't so much the internal inconsistencies of religion that made me change my mind about that. It was more, thinking about, well, okay, here is the way that God is supposed to be, and yet here is what happens, right? And he's supposed to be omnipotent and stuff, and clearly there are things just happening that he either doesn't care about or just lets happen, and yet, in spite of that lack of activity, complete and utter lack of influence demonstrated by God, who he was supposed to be considered the absolute ruler of everything. And it just, at some point I just said, oh, okay, enough of this.
So what about yourself? Do you consider yourself a Christian, agnostic, atheist?
Well, no, but I mean, growing up, I was brought up in a Christian family, and I, had believed in God and attempted and wanted to. And then I'll just point out one thing here. It's Genesis 1:16. And it actually says that God made two great lights, one to rule the day and one to rule the night.
Yeah. Moon's not a light, is it?
It's insane. I don't know how you can get past that sentence and believe the rest is going to be true.
That's that's one of many. So I appreciate you sharing that with us.
And one more thing, if I may.
Sure.
Job.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
How unimportant were the lives that were wasted for his test?
All right.
Right.
It's madness.
But you can play fast and loose with lives like that if you believe that there's a happy land that your soul goes off to after you die, right? Because it didn't really cost them anything, right? It was just their physical bodies.
Oh, of course.
So
great. Well, thanks. I appreciate your time.
That's why that's so dangerous to think that way.
I just wanted to invite you down to the Hot Jumble Bakery to meet us in person. Once we're done here, we'll head down that way. And the more I was thinking about it, and on Tim's question there about the Life of Brian party, since we usually have those at a private individual's home, I doubt if we'll be announcing the address on the air.
Oh.
No, I'm pretty sure we won't.
So
but we'll be announcing that it's happening, and then
we'll announce it. And so if you want to come to the party, you'll have to come to the meeting so we can at least meet you in person.
Right.
And because the party will be happening at one of our members' house, and I don't think it would be right to announce that over the air. And more I thought about that.
But I want to make a comment about
Sure.
this. Walking away to Happy Land thing makes it okay for people to suffer now in this moment of time. I still don't see that as justified. Why in this moment do people have to suffer?
I'm not saying it makes sense. I'm just saying it's a justification.
I'm just throwing out a counter argument because there are a lot of people that fall back on that.
Yes.
I know.
Oh, we lost the caller there. I don't know what happened there. The lights just went out, so
maybe he hung up on us.
We either lost him or we're having technical difficulties. So please bear. And or if you're on hold and we lost you, James, feel free to call back. We'll get you back on.
Phones are messing up.
That's our technical difficulties there. So
I see that Don's got a bunch of books over there.
Well, I do, and
one of them is that icky book.
Yeah, well, the book that I think Jeff is referring to is the Bible. I usually, when I'm on the show, I usually bring these two, the Bible and this one. It's a Bible handbook, and it's very handy when people talk about prophecies or contradictions, something like that. It's just a real handy reference work, and I have some passages marked there. One that I enjoy is one that was in The Age of Reason, Tom Paine's work, where he talked about Jesus having two different grandfathers depending on the passage that you read. Which, I mean, that's a pretty clear contradiction. These two are just really good works for somebody that wants to find out if they're really an atheist, or if you want to find out what an atheist thinks. The first one, very widely known and read, Atheism, the Case Against God by Smith. Very well written, easy to understand. I recommend it very much, but I'm not going to review it. I just wanted to mention these titles as very helpful, very informative. This one is extremely well organized. Kruger's "What is Atheism?" I recommend this for anybody that asks those 5 questions that we get all the time. What happens when you die? Can you be moral and be an atheist? Is the Bible a moral guide? All these things are answered very clearly in this book. So, they're out there. They're available.
I'd like to recommend.
Sure. No, I was just going to remind you, these are research materials that are being, with your personal opinion. We're not here trying to sell these books.
No, right. No.
But there are all kinds of books out there on this subject, and just a personal observation, my parents, again, are both ministers, and they've got a large library of books about religion. They've got no books on atheism. The only things they know about atheism are what they have read in books that are really about the Bible, where, as an aside, they slam atheism. So I'd like to recommend that Christians out there who are watching this show, to find out what atheism is all about, don't ask other Christians, ask atheists. Surely that is the fairest thing to do. There are books available if you want to do that, or you can call our show and ask us questions, because we'll be happy to tell you.
All right.
Let's go to James.
James.
How you doing, bud?
Fantastic. Thanks for calling back.
Listen, it struck me as I was watching you guys.
Yeah.
And listening to your stories. This is about the 6th or 7th time, I guess, I've turned you on in the last couple of years, and I had a chance to sit down and listen to what you're saying. And I've kind of known where atheists are coming from all along, but I really didn't have a good grasp of it until just a second ago. I had this flash of insight that I'm watching 3 of the most faithful people. I'm serious, and
you can continue. Yeah, please continue.
Hang on, I'll tell you where I'm coming from, because it took me about 17 years to delineate, to get free from the grip of the Old Testament teaching like you guys have, okay, and become faithful in one person or one gospel,
And what is that one person or one gospel?
Well, that one person and one gospel is the person that sits and presents us without fault or blame continually, regardless of whether you belong to a church, whether you accept what he did, whether.
If you're saying Jesus Christ, I can't even accept the person he existed. So how am I supposed? I think he's a total myth.
Let the guy talk.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Where I'm coming from is a long time ago, I had this question in my heart, like you guys did, if you really exist, I just couldn't swallow it. I couldn't believe what I was reading. I said, if I could only see you, and I closed the book and threw it away. You know? And I was 13, 14 years old at that time. And when I hit 32 years old, I had an experience where I saw him, and it just blew me away. And
you saw God?
Saw Christ sitting up.
You saw Christ?
Yeah, and it was like no
was he
clouds,
wearing?
No moon, no stars that I could see or anything. I was just driving down the road, minding my own business.
It's at nighttime, so he was illuminated by your headlights.
He was out the side.
I'm sorry, I'm doing it now. I'm sorry.
Yes. And it totally freaked me out. My cousin and her husband was sitting in the back seat, and I was freaking out. I was like, I hadn't smoked any pot that afternoon. I hadn't had a beer. I hadn't had a drink. It was totally blowing me away. So what happened for 17 years, I thought I was going to go. I didn't know how to make it. I didn't know whether I needed to go out and sacrifice a sheep. Didn't know whether I needed to go out and, like what do I do?
Right. Wait, all this time when you weren't believing in God, you were thinking you had to sacrifice sheep?
No, he was wondering.
I got a hold of this Old and New Testament stuck together. Okay, and that's where the problem lies.
Okay, well, we're on a time.
You got to do away with the Old Testament because.
Okay. Well, we'd be happy to, but Christian Bibles come with the Old Testament packaged in it, and when Christians get rid of it, we'll stop criticizing Christians for having it.
Oh, I'm with you. Hang on.
Okay.
Because that is how they get control and manipulate people. You're exactly right.
Okay, but we have a bunch of callers and we have time, but I appreciate your call. What I want to ask you, though, is you say you saw Jesus, and this is when it changed your life. How did it change your life, and what are you doing different now because you saw Jesus? Did he speak to you? What?
I tell you what, I don't sweat it when I go to the bar and have a beer and listen to the group. Okay? I don't sweat it.
Because Jesus said it was all right.
Listen, I have got more faith that he is going to take care of me, whether I go to the bar and have a beer.
Oh, there's that word again.
I sit in a club and enjoy music. I love music.
You just called us faithful.
Yes.
And we're wondering what you meant by that.
Well, because you are sitting there absolutely as confident as I am. Absolutely as confident as I am.
About what?
That you are okay, and you are.
Right.
So
what does that have to do with there are a zillion different meanings for that word faith, aren't there?
Yeah,
there are.
But you've got a glimmer inside. You just haven't, clicked the light hasn't come right on, but you have got that little glimmer in your heart that says, I'm okay, and you are. You're just as good as anybody else that ever walked the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Whoever they are.
Yeah.
So
you presented an interesting twist to other Christians have said this too, or whatever.
They're wrong.
Wait a minute. Let me finish what I'm saying. And I appreciate your input there that you think they're wrong, even before I even said what I was going to say. But they're saying that because they have professed their faith in Jesus Christ, that they are now going to heaven. You've professed your faith in Jesus Christ, so you're now safe to do whatever you want? That's what I thought you were saying.
Well, listen, that's exactly what I'm saying. My humanity is not an issue, and neither is yours.
Okay.
Yeah, it is not an issue with it.
Well, that's certainly true.
And I'll tell you something. Those people that are condemning you or condemning anybody else for whatever their lifestyle is, for whatever their preference in sexuality, for whatever their preference in religion, whatever that is,
we're all going to heaven.
They judge another person. They are exactly as guilty of doing it as they are.
So
the key to it is don't judge.
Yeah. Do you think that the Old Testament is all like false? Do you think that was some different religion?
It was it was the Jews' religion.
Okay. And so they were all wrong? The things that they say God said and wanted during the Old Testament, that was not what God said and wanted in those at that time, is what you're saying?
Up to the point where he came and you guys have all had some reading on this.
All right.
And if you go back and you look at what he said to them, he was the only one that preached the gospel to them, or that preached the law to the Jews.
Wait a minute. We're talking. I'm asking you about the Old Testament. You're willing to brush off the Old Testament. I just want to.
No, I'm not brushing it off. It's dead. It's like, why bother?
Well, because if Christianity is a continuation of the same tradition,
it is because the Jews set out to do this, and I'm not against Jewish people. I love the people. They're great. They're smart. They're beautiful. They're in every way an asset to society wherever they are. Okay. I love them.
I'm not trying to catch you in anti-Semitism.
However,
I'm trying to find out if you think it's the same God who in Leviticus is saying kill homosexuals, and in the New Testament is Jesus going around saying love your neighbor. And also the same Jesus who in the New Testament is saying take those people that don't believe in me and slay them in front of me with a sword.
Is that the same God?
Is that all the same guy? Does that all come from the same place? Because that's a serious question.
It is a serious question.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you go think about that. I think Ray wants to move on.
Go ahead. Appreciate you talking to me.
Okay. Thanks for calling. Have a great week. We'd love for you to call back and talk to us some more.
And continue to watch the show. Yes.
Let me just address.
And Arlo had a point too, but go ahead, Don.
Let me just address an issue that I think the gentleman might have been alluding to a little bit, and that is tolerance. And of course, atheists are tolerant. We're tolerant of people, but then I think Jeff has expressed this really well, that all ideas are not equal. All ideas are not equally good. Some are going to be false, and it's really okay to question ideas, and that's what we do here.
Yeah. And
I'm sorry. Arlo had a point there.
Oh well. I was just hoping to investigate further in this whole seeing Jesus while driving thing. I hope it doesn't sound like I'm poking fun, but just, I mean, do you have to swerve around him? Or?
Yeah, he was glowing, apparently. The guy didn't want to say Jesus was in his headlights.
And how embarrassing that would be if you ran over Jesus.
Yeah, if you had actually killed Jesus, yes.
Yeah, and I want to add, I mean, while we're, sure, tolerance is a good thing, but not all ideas are equally good. So it's not intolerance to, like, examine ideas on their merits.
It's a good thing.
Right. That's a good thing.
Exactly.
And that's why I'm not too excited about the movie Dogma, for example, and I'm not too excited when we have liberal-sounding Christians call the show, because the source of the intolerance boils down to this belief that you have access to divinely inspired knowledge. And as long as that idea is around, the intolerance will continue to derive from that. It is, so...
These ideas have implications.
They have implications.
They
really lead places. If you don't limit yourself to saying that you have knowledge of stuff that is really knowledge, that can really be proven to be knowledge, you're giving yourself carte blanche. Ultimately, you or people who inherit your beliefs somewhere down the road have carte blanche to say any kind of weirdo stuff they want and think that other people are then automatically wrong. And that's the source of it.
All right. Remind everyone, we're only on until 10:30, so we're running out of time, and I see we got all kinds of callers.
We really need to go to 2 hours with this show.
Let's go to Alan.
Oh, thanks a lot, guys. Hey, I really enjoy your program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I enjoy your level-headed approach toward, viewing the world and everything.
Thanks.
Can I have your names from left to right?
My name's Ray. I'm the host. This is Jeff, the co-host.
Jeff.
Don.
And this week's guest is Don.
Oh, okay, great. I disagree with let's say some of your conclusions, though, about like differentiating between liberal Christians and conservative Christians, and or of these kind. Here, the thing that bothers me, and this happens also like with a lot of science fiction people, they're expecting some alien life form to land on the earth and to show us how to live peacefully together.
All right.
And there's a basic hey, I hear them coming. I mean, that's a very naive view of life, I think.
Yeah.
If you look at our world, we start off with like this space-time continuum, and then sometimes it gets filled with matter and energy, and then there's life on top of that, and then there's intelligence. There's let's say giving different values to items of intelligence, which you could call love, and then there's the ability we human beings seem to have, which is we can either like a mother bear is going to be a mother bear no matter where she is or what she's going to do. She's going to protect her cubs. But human beings seem to have a lot of freedom into deciding what set of values they are going to live by. You can have the Hugh Hefner or Mother Teresa or whatever. But the thing is, the conflict arises because we have this ability to choose different sets of values, and we naturally, if the stronger you feel about your values, and you guys are a perfect example of people who have taken a lot of time and energy to think about things, just like me, I feel strongly about the conclusions I've come to. My point is this, that it's just part of our nature. I mean, if you're able to choose a set of values, you are going to identify with them and you are going to defend them, and that is the source of the conflict. I mean, you have like the Soviet Union and China, the communist China, both basically atheistic countries, but they can't get along together because they have disputes. They have, they're over borders and so forth.
And why should they? Christian countries can't get along together.
Exactly. Well, that's my
Muslim
point.
countries can't get.
I don't think liberal Christians are any more peaceful than conservative Christians, even though I think the very nature of human beings or any intelligent life form, if it comes from outer space, they're going to have the same problem. They probably had some kind of wars and finally one philosophy dominated, and now they're spreading around the universe with that philosophy. But there may be won't like us. Maybe we won't like that philosophy, and we'll try to fight them. But I mean, that is a basic contention that's going on, I think.
Yeah.
All right. I appreciate your call.
Yeah.
You have a great week.
Yeah, it's all about trying to find. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I don't. Go ahead.
It's all about trying to find some common ground that you can use to see similarities between different groups instead of differences. Because recognizing differences is always going to lead to conflict.
And what I enjoy about the conservative Christians is that they seem to have a clearer picture of exactly what it is they believe than a lot of liberal religious people. I disagree with both, but it seems like the conservatives can nail it down a lot more specifically exactly what it is they believe.
All right.
It makes them an easier target.
Yep, well.
Arlo brought up an excellent point this morning about it's more controversial to express a certain point of view on religion than there is to say there is no God, because then by presenting your point of view, you got so many other people out there who are going to tell you you're wrong. Whereas if you just say there is no God,
they're all after you.
They're all after you.
Misrepresenting Jesus' message is far worse than just saying he didn't exist.
Thank you, Arlo.
Oh, okay, I was saying the opposite of what...
I'm trying to say what he was saying, and he's sitting right here. I should have just asked him what he said there. I'm sorry, because it was a very intelligent point there, Arlo. I appreciate that.
Let's move on. He's an intelligent guy. Here.
Yes, I think we're having phone problems, so bear with us, because the lights are going on and off all the time here.
Sorry, I've been trying to fix that.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. Let's go on down to Jack.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Jack.
I have to admit I don't know much about atheism or Christianity, although I do consider myself a Christian, simply because I believe in God. But I wanted to find out how you felt about, I caught your show about a month and a half, and it seemed to me like you were very concerned about being able to prove things.
Sure.
All right.
So I want to find out if you believed in matter and energy and the two constants throughout the universe, and what happens after you die. I mean, do you believe that you go on?
Let's take one question at a time.
What two constants are you talking about?
Well, matter and energy.
That's the same thing, so it's not two different things. It's one.
It's like the matter-energy equation.
Right.
That's what I want to find out.
You want to know if we believe in matter?
No, energy.
You want to know if we believe in energy?
Matter and energy are two separate things.
They're two different representations of the same thing. Matter
you can convert back and forth.
Well,
right.
Okay, let me ask you.
That's what nuclear power is all about.
Well, what are y'all made of?
Matter.
Matter.
Just matter, no energy?
No,
Okay, energy is when matter interacts in ways that causes other stuff to happen. I mean, at its fundamental level. So sure, I mean, there's biochemistry going on in our bodies, and there's like warmth generated by that, and that's energy, and there's electrical activity in our brains, and that's energy. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, but I've never heard that before. That's why I'm calling.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay. I'm sorry. We get some really dumb questions, so we can never tell when people ask us stuff where they're going with it.
Well, what I was taught was that matter and energy are two separate things, and neither one can be created nor destroyed.
Yeah. When you split an atom, it releases energy. So there's energy in matter.
It's not me doing that.
Okay.
Hang on, that's the phone.
I was thinking it was cool.
Sorry, Jack, you still there?
Jack?
I think he's playing with a Casio keyboard. I recognize that.
Who is?
The caller.
Is that you?
Jack?
I think you turned into energy. I don't know.
Jack, are you there?
Yes.
You are.
Okay.
What was that?
Okay.
Did you do that?
No, but in closing, I guess I'll get out of your hair here. I wanted to find out what happens. What do you feel happens when you die? Is it just that's it?
Yeah, unfortunately,
The thing about the whole matter-energy thing is you can't jump from energy to souls, okay? And a lot of people try to do that. A lot of people think that, well, because energy is kind of this intangible stuff that's sort of around doing things mysteriously, that therefore that has something to do with souls. And you don't have energy doing stuff unless there's matter for it to act on, and it's really only a different form of the same thing that matter is made out of. So, I mean, that's not it doesn't have, energy doesn't have any of the characteristics. Real energy, the kinds of energy we can actually measure, don't have any of the characteristics that you need to leap from that to like having a supernatural kind of spirit entity in you.
How did the energy that you exhibit now come into creation?
In my own personal worldview is it's always been here and it's always will be. There's people that believe that we're going from a big bang to a big crunch. So there's no one set answer. And like I say, I can give you my worldview from my research and my experience and everything else. I like the answer that it's always been here and it always will be here.
I am willing to go along with whatever is the prevailing scientific theory, understanding that those things are always under revision. But saying God did it doesn't answer anything, because then it's fair to ask where did God come from, right? So that's not an answer either.
No, well, I wanted to get your take on that. So
okay.
Thanks.
You have a great week, and please continue to watch. All right.
To me, it's pretty clear that life is a process.
Right.
You know, I think he was talking about like where do we come from? How does life get created? And you know, life is a process. What happens when you die is like a candle flame is a process. And when you blow it out, where does it go? Well, that's what happens when you die. You know, the process is over. The matter's still there, but the process is over.
Let's go on down to Al.
Yeah, hi. I'm being brought up in a Muslim community. I just have a question.
Sure.
Well, being brought up in a Muslim community, I've always believed that there was only one God, and that Muhammad is his prophet or whatever. But
really,
now,
that many, huh?
Yeah. Well, anyway, I kind of like doubt that right now. I mean, I have my own mind right now, and I'm not really sure. Actually, I'm kind of like tied up in between. Well, I see no proof that God exists, but that doesn't mean that. I mean, just because there's no proof that God exists doesn't mean there's proof that God doesn't exist.
Right.
So I'm not sure whether, I don't know what to believe anymore. And
does it matter to you if it's true or not? I mean, or
well, it matters.
Are you at that point?
I've been thinking if I die today, I might go to hell. But if I know the truth right now, well, then, I can just have fun for the rest of my life. Whatever.
Guys, go ahead, Jeff.
I love these kinds of questions.
Because we're down to 3 minutes, caller.
Okay. You can't. We can't.
Before you start, can I just say one thing?
Sure.
I'd rather have the hurting truth than the comforting lie. I mean, that's one thing.
There you go.
Good for you.
You're on the right track.
You're right. Absence of evidence. When you're talking about something like God, right? You're right. Lack of evidence doesn't prove that he doesn't exist. But that's not the point. The point is, it's silly to believe in a claim that is not backed up by evidence. Okay? We can't prove God doesn't exist, but we can make a really good case that it's silly to believe that he does if there's no proof. Because, I could say there is an advanced alien civilization living inside the sun. Right? We have no evidence of this. If it's smart to believe that God exists, it's smart to believe in my advanced aliens just because I said so.
Right.
Just because you say so is not good enough. Even if it's true, even if it turns out there are advanced aliens living inside the sun, it makes no sense to believe in them because we have no evidence.
Right. I can say okay, there's a Superman that exists, and it would be just the same,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's up for the people that make the assertion to provide the proof. We're not here to prove a negative. If someone says there's a God, then it's up to them to offer the evidence.
And you said that, if there's no God, then you can go off and do whatever you want to do.
We laughed at it, but that's a good point.
It's a good point, but if there's no God, then you become responsible. You become responsible for the meaning in your life, and you become responsible for your actions.
Right. I would take the path that I would like. I mean, whatever I can do, whatever I like, and
you can, but if you do things that you like and you're dumb about it, right?
Yeah, I mean,
you go I don't like this guy, so I kill him. There are consequences.
Right. I know.
Okay, so you're responsible for intelligently. Yeah, you're responsible for intelligently charting a path through this, through life. without making terrible mistakes.
It'd be good to talk to some atheist people and get their points of view. You've had one side, get the other. And I want to compliment you for calling the show and talking
come on down to the
close off. I just want to know
quickly.
if I have any more questions. Is there a place or where I can go to? I mean, can you give me an address or something in Austin?
Sure. We're down West 5th and Lavaca. We meet there every Sunday. We also have a voicemail, 371-2911. That's our webpage right up on the screen. And that is just one of a few here in Austin. There's other people.
Write that number down, 371-2911.
You have a great week, Al.
All right, thanks a lot.
West 5th and Lavaca is the Hot Jumbo Bagelry, and we meet there right after this show. So come on down and say hi.
That nothing fails like prayer.
We love you, Austin. We didn't do the love things.